This is a reading of Giving Personal Stories a Voice. It is an interview from Reading Challenge Standout 4, 3rd edition, Unit 4, pages 106 and 107. Let's look at the picture on page 106. Can we find the title of the article? All right, and who is it about? And what does she say? So the title is the words in very large print, Giving Personal Stories a Voice. Her name is in the yellow strip where it says Explorer, a person who explores, Rebecca Skinner, and what she says is in the bottom left, right here. That's what I want to focus on next. I am passionate about giving a voice to people who feel they cannot be heard. Rebecca Skinner. Now, how do you know those are exactly her words, not my words? You notice that the red circles are around these funny little marks. What are those marks called? Does anybody know? Quote marks or quotation marks. Quotation is actually one word, but I have written it syllable by syllable so you can see how it breaks down. Quotation marks. They go at the beginning and at the end. They look different in various cultures, but this is how we do ours. Okay? Now look, there's a yellow box at the bottom left, right in front of her name. That is called a dash. And if we pull out quotes like this and have nothing but the quote, very often we'll have the dash with the person's name. We don't have to write the whole sentence. Rebecca Skinner said this. We just put the dash. So let's go to the text. It's on page 107. Do we remember the title? Because the title is not on page 107. You're right. The title is Giving Personal Stories a Voice. And it's an interview with whom? Ah, yes, Rebecca Skinner. Okay. So before we read the text, before you bury yourself in the details, get a general idea. This is actually called pre-reading. What does the text look like? You see bold print. How many sections of bold print do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you have 5 sections, and you notice that each one is a question, which suggests to you that maybe the other stuff that's not bold is an answer. Okay, so we have pointed out the section headings in the bold print. Now let's read just the section headings. What did you want to be when you were growing up? How did you get started in your field of work? What inspires you to dedicate your life to photography? Do you have a hero? What has been your favorite experience in the field? These section headings give you an idea of what the text is going to do, what questions she is going to answer. So you already have a map that will show you what you will read about. The next step is to read the first sentence of each section. Not the whole paragraph, just the first sentence. So we'll read the section heading and then the first sentence. What did you want to be when you were growing up? I grew up always knowing that I wanted to explore. How did you get started in your field of work? In the fall of 2010, I won a grant from my university to travel to New Orleans to photograph the 5-year difference from Hurricane Katrina. What inspires you to dedicate your life to photography? Studying social work made me passionate about giving a voice to people who feel they cannot be heard. Do you have a hero? My uncle, Todd Skinner, who was a professional rock climber. What has been your favorite experience in the field? My favorite field experience was getting to fly a kite in the middle of a rice paddy with all the villagers we had lived with in Sumatra. The first sentence of each section tells us how she answers the question. The rest of the paragraph is going to give us details so we understand it better. Now I'll read the whole thing and you can read along with me. When we're finished, you can move on to the links so you can focus on paragraph by paragraph. What did you want to be when you were growing up? I grew up always knowing that I wanted to explore. How did you get started in your field of work? In the fall of 2010, I won a grant from my university to travel to New Orleans to photograph the 5-year difference from Hurricane Katrina. That trip was really life-changing, and it made me realize that photography is something I would like to do for the rest of my life. What inspires you to dedicate your life to photography? Studying social work made me passionate about giving a voice to people who feel they cannot be heard. Through both my tsunami and Hurricane Katrina photo projects, I've realized that post-natural disaster communities are often forgotten about. I strongly believe that how a community recovers, or not, is just as important as the disaster itself. Photographically documenting these communities gives personal stories a voice. Do you have a hero? My uncle, Todd Skinner, who was a professional rock climber, he always encouraged us to push our own limits, to explore wild places, and to be a storyteller. He once said, "You cannot lower the mountain, therefore you must elevate yourself." Also, I have the most incredible parents in the world. What has been your favorite experience in the field? My favorite field experience was getting to fly a kite in the middle of a rice paddy with all the villagers we had lived with in Sumatra. The sun was setting, everyone was laughing and trying to communicate, though we were speaking 2 different languages. It was like something I've dreamed or read about. Okay, so the next link is for reading the next 2 sections. Talk to you later.